Good morning. This is our daily tarot. Our opening card for the day is the Sun card. So we're feeling this really expansive quality that's coming from our heart. Like there's this excitement for something new, and it's calling us out of some situation that we've kind of felt stuck in. Consider that the Sun card is the most beneficial card of the tarot deck. So it is bringing in this new energy and this realization of a sense of what we're actually capable of and what our potential truly is. And this is almost like, something within us is being called out of ourselves, called into the world. And we see that in this energetic of the Sun card. The challenge that we have is that we still have some things that we have to take care of. We have the Two of Wands showing up today, which is this call of the wild. So yeah, we're seeing with clear sight the direction that we need to go and where we need to put our efforts. And yet there's something still anchored behind us that's pointing out something that we have to take care of, something that we agreed to do, or some project that still needs to be completed before we can actually put our full energy towards this new project that we're being called out into. Now, the way we're going to get through the challenge is the Nine of Wands. And this is a completion around looking at where our, actions and behaviors have kind of not necessarily worked out. So it's us learning from past mistakes. We see this person who looks a little beat up, right? They're pretty scuffed up. They have one wand in their hand and they're looking over their shoulder at these other 8 wands. And the energy that's in this card is as if, we have put our will and our energy in all of these different directions. And where has that kind of beat us up? It's when I look at the way that culture is in at least America, it's, how do we fill our day with as much as possible? How do we be productive as much as possible? And yet that can really wear us down. And more often times than not, we end up sacrificing our own self-care, which is, typically really basic things like eating good food and sleeping and making sure we drink water instead of coffee or stimulants to just keep us going. So where can we look at our own life and see what we've done with our own action, our own will that hasn't benefited us, and it's kind of given us more to work with. So this is us learning from our past experiences, learning from our own efforts. And so if we can look at our day and see, maybe where we lose time and where we can possibly redirect that time towards the thing that we actually feel called to do, then we can move away from this space where we feel kind of beat up by life, because ultimately it's us who decides where we put our energy and effort each and every day, particularly with the mind, the emotions, and then ultimately with our will. Now, the outcome of the day that we have is another major arcana. So we started with 2 of them, or we had 2 of them today. The ultimate outcome is the Justice card. And this card is all about relationship and exchange. And what does that actually mean? The Justice card is the opposite energy of Aries. So Aries would be the Emperor, the person who's going out to achieve things for their own gains by their own way of their own ego. And this is an opposite energy. This is a card that is bringing up our sense of relationship and working with someone. And also, what that means when it comes to a commitment and a contract of some sort. And so it can bring up with us, in our own personal world, in our own work with ourselves, what agreements do we need to have with ourselves, and what do we bring to exchange? I was sitting with a friend a few months ago, and we were talking about this concept of bringing something to the table. And what do you bring to the table? And do you bring something to the table that is, of an energetic of like, I've been, walking around in this dark hole for months and months and months? Or do you bring something to the table that, is some kind of food or nourishment for other people? Like, what have you worked through? Where have you put your effort in your life? And what can you share with other people through that experience of what you've gained in your knowledge. And this kind of highlights something that happened yesterday with me, because I was out working in the garden, and I live on this farm that there's a lot of people that live here, and there's a lot of different projects going on all the time. And a gentleman that was building a horse corral on the property had a flat tire on his motorcycle, and so he brought someone from where he lives to come and help him fix his tire to leave. Well, that person happened to own a huge farm and has, basically a lot of his day is in tending to trees and tending to plants and just making sure that they're healthy. And so he asked me about me taking care of this garden and what I was doing and if we were going to grow food. And I proceeded to explain, that the garden that we have here is mostly medicinal plants, and I really would like to grow food, but I have a really limited amount of space. And so I'm using some techniques that I actually used in the city to grow food, where I had a limited space to do that, because I had a raised bed that was like, I want to say maybe 6 feet by 12 feet long. And I grew a variety of vegetables, and something I shared with him was building an arch trellis so that I could grow my squash at the base of it, and the vines of all of the squash could go up over the trellis, so then the fruit was off the ground and there was less footprint for that plant, because typically vines of squash just like run, similar to melons and things that are vining plants. But if you give them something to grow on, then they'll grow up and over, and then the fruit or the vegetable, the fruiting body of the plant will be off the ground. So that way I was able to maximize my growing space and also eliminate the need for my landlord to dodge around my squash vines while they mowed the lawn. So I was sharing this with him, and he was like, wow, did you come up with that yourself? And I was like, yeah, I did. And so now that knowledge that I shared with him, he gets to go and apply to his garden and maximize the space of how he can grow food. So it's this idea of like, what do we bring to exchange? And are we present for conversation and communication to really see what that experience is bringing to us by way of opportunity through exchange? And so, our end result today ultimately is some kind of agreement, whether it's with ourselves or with someone else, and it brings up this idea of relationship and how we work with one another, and I think that's actually really important right now. Consider also that we just have today, actually, we have the sun moving out of Aries, so it's in square relationship, because Aries is cardinal fire. It's in square relationship to Pluto, which is in cardinal Earth in Capricorn. So those two energies are square. And then the Justice card, which governs Libra, is kind of highlighting this last full moon that we were in, because the full moon was in Libra, because whenever we have a full moon, it's in the opposite side of the sun. And that's about relationship. And so we likely did have some aspect of relationship or some experience in that realm that was highlighted over the full moon, that's given us some perspective of what our work is right now. I hope you all have a beautiful day. I also hope that these readings are useful for you. People do reach out and tell me that they give them a lot of useful perspective, and that they appreciate my readings because they're not like the typical, I guess, taboo fortune teller kind of reading. And I think that's because, I was able to study with someone who really guided me to learn the tarot by way of self-study and self-development rather than fortune telling. So I send you all a lot of love and a good wish as we get through the day, and I hope you are planting a garden. And if you need any help with that and you're on the Front Range, reach out to me. I will be going down there soon, within the next week. So I can go ahead and do some consulting with people for their gardens. So I'm going to reach out. I send you all a lot of love, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.